Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Health Chats podcast. I am your host, Kelsey Grieveson, and I want to talk about fear today. I want to talk about how fear of failure was the biggest thing that kept me stuck. I'm going to share my own story and how shifting out of that fear created an identity shift that literally changed everything for me in my life. And I'm going to go back to kind of like where I think it came from. I feel like we're always learning ourselves as human beings. And that's part of the journey is just like new awarenesses every day, especially if you have a growth mind where you're open to seeing these things change and open to expanding yourself. And so as I was thinking of this episode, I was like, okay, so I know that I had a fear of failure. But like, where did this fear actually come from? Because I think we need to get to the root of things in order to fully process them. I would say that's a very therapeutic way of looking at life. I don't think we can bypass anything. I think that our body keeps the score. That's a really good book, by the way. The body keeps the score, but it does unless you like truly dive into the root of yourself, which is hard work, by the way, the deep inner work. It's not easy, but it's so worth it. It is so worth it to get to know yourself and like all of your idiosyncrasies for why you behave in certain ways, especially if you have or feel like you have a big purpose in this life, which I believe we all do. It's just that some of us we don't dive deep enough in order to figure out what that is. So that fear of failure for me, I had it deep in every area of my life. And how this showed up was I was so shy. I was so shy and quiet. I would be careful with just my words, what I would say to people. And honestly, it still creeps up sometimes. I notice it in myself. And in, I guess, yoga terms, I notice that my throat chakra closes. And I'm like, sometimes at these places where I just feel like I can't say what I want to say because of fear that, this failure to say the right thing, as if there's a right thing to say, or that I will be judged for what I say. That fear also lives quite closely with the fear of failure. And yeah, it's something I would say I'm still actively working on, except now I'm so aware of it that when it comes up, I work on it right away. It's not something that I just let build up inside like I did for so many years. And I think that's really the key is taking action. Action cures fear. So not that fear is a disease. It's not something we have to cure, but if it is running your life and keeping you stuck, there are steps that you can take to help move past that fear and feel way more fulfilled and step into your higher potential that I believe we all have. We all have a higher potential that we can be living in this life. So that fear of failure, it showed up in the way of if I try something new and it didn't work out, I would die. Like that's how deep the fear was. It was like, no, 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 I cannot get out of my comfort zone. If I go and I try this thing and it doesn't work out perfectly, then like done, can never talk to humans ever again, gotta go, like running to another country. And it was like so much anxiety and stress around trying anything new in the public eye. I want to just say it. I tried a lot of new things behind the scenes, which I didn't want to share with anyone because I was like, well, if I don't share it, then no one can see if I fail. And so some things that I did try back in the day, I had a drop shipping business. I was selling eco-friendly products online, which was my first failure. And now I've reframed failure as feedback. Failure, failure equals feedback. Failure is not a bad thing. Failure needs to happen in order for us to actually move forward and like learn what to do differently. So I had a drop shipping business selling eco-friendly goods. But what the feedback was these eco-friendly products, they were coming from China because if you drop ship, you know that these are not products that you store. You do not have your own inventory. You have a website which you build and then you create ads to send it out to an audience to see what your products are. And then once they buy the product, China sends them the product. And if you do it well enough, you can brand your product, you can make it look like it's coming straight out of your own warehouse. And it is a really good model if you have good suppliers and you have good products. And I learned about this for like over a year. Like it was a decent chunk of time that I was working on it. But the issue was these products were coming from China. Think eco friendly, like eco being good for the planet. They were all wrapped in plastic. They were being mass produced. They were not a local thing. Like the idea was great, but the the outcome was terrible. It was like I am going against everything that I believe, which is like, is it good for the economy? Is it actually like good for the environment? It was not. It was not at all. And so I did that for a little while. Big fail. Glad I learned it because then I was like, okay, building a business is a desire of mine. It's something I want to do, have a little at this time side hustle alongside my full hustle. And so I was like, okay, this eco-friendly thing is not going to work in drop shipping. So let's keep trying drop shipping, but let's sell a product that people might actually like. And I started looking into all these websites for like what's popping right now online. And I was selling these kids e-tablets. So random. And these kids' e-tablets, they were basically like an erasable chalkboard, but like you draw on it. I don't even know how to describe it. You draw with a little pen, and then you click the button and it erases. So really good for kids so they don't need to waste paper. I'm like, well, that's kind of eco-friendly. That's nice. And yes, it's still going to come wrapped in plastic, but this is products that people actually want. So maybe I'll be able to sell it and there won't be so much guilt there about what it's coming wrapped in. So I started doing that. I thought it would be a smart idea to take the Instagram that I built and just like change the name. But silly me didn't think, hey, the audience, they were following eco-friendly products, which was like bamboo toothbrushes and bamboo soap holders and silicone baggies, like instead of a plastic Ziploc bag. And I just erased all the content and was like, reverse, we're going to go to kids' e-tablets. Yeah, people were like, what the fuck is this? And I didn't have enough knowledge on like how business, like Facebook Meta worked for running ads. And honestly, I didn't have the courage to ask for help. Again, I was behind the scenes. I was like, I don't want anyone to learn about me failing. So I didn't ask for help and I quit that business. I was like, nope, this isn't going to work. I had too big of an ego to try to expand it in any different way. Looking back now with what I know, I could probably build and scale that. Do I have interest at this phase of my life? Not really. But this is just an example of like one, the first one failed. The second one failed because I wouldn't ask for help because I was still in that fear. I was building something from a place of fear. And when you're vibrating at that level of fear, not much is going to come to you. There's a book called Letting Go by David Hawkins, and he talks about the different levels of consciousness. And I just like, I laugh and I want to cry to look back at the younger version of me. I was like, I think 20. So like 8 years ago, maybe younger. And I didn't know any of this. I didn't know what I know now. So knowing what I know now, I'm like, wow, I want to go back and tell her, girl, you can't build something from a place of fear because you're not going to attract the type of energy that you need in order to actually scale this to something. So that was business number one. This rippled into other areas of my life beyond just business. I never fully went in on my fitness for a long time because I was like, well, what if, I hire a coach and they give me a plan and they try to coach me and I fail? Like, what if I don't listen to them? I didn't have the belief in myself to just fucking go for it and go all in. And this came from early days of when I was younger, I would try so many things. Like if you look back at my memory box, I was a ballet dancer when I was little. I played soccer, I did piano, I did singing lessons, I played ringette, I was a figure skater, I tried some of the teams at school, I was cross country running, I was in drama, I was in dance, I was in cosmetology. I did all of it. And I quit all of it too. And I don't blame my parents for anything. My parents did the best with what they knew. And they never what I understand now is they never wanted to force me into anything that I didn't love. They didn't want me to ever feel like I was being forced into something. So they're like, "Okay, yeah, you don't like it, that's okay." They definitely encouraged me. Like I remember the figure skating one. Oh, add in another one. I was a horse girl for a little bit. But I remember the figure skating one. I was like about to go to a competition and I was having a fucking mental breakdown because I didn't want to go. And I was like, I don't like this. And they were like, Kelsey, how many more things? And I remember this so clearly being a little girl. They're like, and they didn't say this, but I'm sure in their head, they were like, how many more goddamn things is this girl going to try until she just finds one? And I didn't go to the competition. I got my way with my little mental breakdown when I was little and bawled my face off. And yeah, I think that was probably one of the last ones where they were like, you know what? Figure it out. Like, figure out what you want to do. Cause obviously none of these sporting things are your thing. And so I see that's where the fear of failure came from is because when I was younger, if I wasn't good at something, I had it inside that I was like, okay, well, I shouldn't do this. Like, if I'm not good right from the get go, I had this internal belief that I just like had to be good at it for whatever reason. Who really knows why? But yeah, I wouldn't push myself to actually let myself fail. And so that stayed in me that I didn't really let myself fail. I quit and had this level of control before letting the fail happen. And again, no blames to anyone. We're all just like learning, especially young parents figuring it out. But I see now, like in adulthood, I believe that our parents, they raise us up until we choose to start raising ourselves. When I was 17, that's when I moved out for the first time. I moved to a different city. I was living in residence at university. And from that point onward, I believe that's when I was raising myself to become the person that I am now. And I was reading Nick Comodina's book recently, and he touched on this. He said, people who he hadn't seen in a long time would come up to him and be like, "Oh, your mother raised such a good man." And he said, "She didn't raise the man that you're meeting now." And that landed so hard for me because I was like, that's so true. But often we give that power away to our parents. And again, we're not shitting on them, but we become a different person from like 17 or 18 onward, depending on when it is that you move out, but you never take credit for who it is that you've become. When I really look at myself and the woman I am now, I'm 28, the last 10 years, that's been me. I have been the one who have sought out the personal development things, who read all of the books, who has sat in discomfort, who's done solo travel. Like that was me. And my parents, thank God that they raised me up until then. But everything I've achieved past that has been me. And that might be uncomfortable for some people to hear because often we don't like to acknowledge the work that we actually put into ourselves because we're trying to stay small and quiet. But the fear of failure for me, how did I overcome that? It came from one day being in wherever I was living. I was in a basement and I hopped on a call with a high level coach who offered me a program for $10,000. And it was 3 months working with this person. And I didn't even ask permission, not from mom, not from dad, not from any friends, no one. I had the autonomy to say, yes, I'm going to invest $10,000 into myself, into my mindset, into my business. And I did it. I put it on a credit card. And then I sat there shaking because I was like, whoa, I am so terrified. What if I don't make this money back? What if this business doesn't grow? What if none of this goes well? But I took action and I did it anyways. And then I called my family and was like, hey, I just spent a lot of money and I just need you to support me. I'm not looking for permission. I just am letting you know this is what I'm doing. And I'm really fucking scared, but I'm doing it. And so that moment, I would say, was when my identity really shifted. from living in this fear, living in this vibration to feeling the fear, but doing it anyway. And so I remember that day, or maybe the day after, was the first time I posted publicly on social media saying, "Hey everyone, I am a mindset coach. I help people overcome their limiting beliefs. I am taking a free client for the next 30 days. Send me a message if you're interested." And just posting that was so scary because it was real. Again, it's out to the world. People can see it. Yes, I had done these drop shipping things in the past. I had a lash business. That was another random thing. I tried to sell candles, but this time it was real. It was more than just me in my house. And there was money on the line. I had invested into this. So it was like, okay, now I've really got to show up. And from that day forward, and that was about, I think, 5 years ago, nothing has been the same. I have woken up every day. Like, I have made this commitment to myself. And yes, while then the cost was, of course, like actual money, real money that I had invested. But then the cost changed. The cost was, if I don't show up for what feels right for me, which is transforming people's lives through mindset, through fitness, through nutrition, through spiritual connection with themselves, the cost is feeling unfulfilled in my life. It was no longer failure. It completely transformed to, if I don't do this, I'm not going to feel like I'm actually living up to my purpose. So back to like, okay, what cures fear? And it doesn't matter what that fear is, but I truly and deeply believe that it's action. It's taking action on the thing that you are most terrified of. Because again, that fear still creeps up. When I'm teaching a yoga class and I have a full class, there's 35 people. I'm like, what if I fuck up my sequence? And what if I say the wrong word? Or what if the thing that I think is like a good, wise thing to say in that moment doesn't come out right? But then I do it anyways. And maybe I stumble, but then it's feedback for my next class. And then it comes up again when I'm going to have a uncomfortable conversation with, say, a family member or something. But then I do it anyways, and I do it imperfectly, and the fear, it quiets and it subsides just a little bit more. Running a big event. Oh my goodness. Like, never in a million years did I think like little Kelsey, who was too shy to answer, an adult would be talking to me and I would whisper in my mom's ear, say this. Now I run events and 70 people are there and I'm like floating. I'm like, wow, you're all here and here we are. And holy shit, we raised $3,500 for the Humane Society. Like, without taking action into the fear of, what if I fail? What if I don't make this money back? What if my business doesn't grow? What if I say something that people don't agree with? I don't think I could have ever overcome the fear. So I'm going to wrap this up by asking you a question, because I know I'm not alone in this fear. I know some people listening, they're still feeling fear, whether it's of a similar caliber to this story I just shared, or maybe it's larger. Maybe you are where I am, or maybe you're steps ahead of me and you have a fear that's keeping you stagnant, whether it's in your physical body, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your relationship. Where might fear be quietly running your life? Reflect on that. I'm about to move across the world, not just the country, the world. I am so scared and I'm doing it anyways, because how else will I learn? And that fear, I say I'm so scared. Me 5 years ago, she'd probably be like shitting her pants. The fear I have now is like, it's just kind of uncomfortable, but it's gotten a lot easier because I've taken action in that fear in other ways. So I'll leave you there. If this episode was helpful, please like, subscribe, leave a review, send it to someone that you love who might also benefit or learn something from it. And if you have any questions, always send me a message on Instagram. My DMs are wide open. Would love to chat with you, would love to hear from you. And yeah, that's it. That's Health Chats. Peace and love.